subdivision part is actually quite easy, and doing that at a distance is not a problem at all, because there are less trades. Like you've got your surveyors, your town planner, or your surveyor and or engineer that's going to, or architect that's actually going to be lodging that for you. So there's very little liaison backwards and forwards. But when it comes to a renovation, how long's this piece of string? It depends on how much you do, and then the kitchen and the bathroom and the wiring and the plumbing and it can go on and on. So unless you've got, you want to appoint somebody like a builder or someone like that can act as a project manager, where you still have to get the quotes and the vetting and whatever else, or you go it alone and try and do all the individual trades yourself. I think personally, I'd be taking some time off and going up there and having things as organised as I possibly could, but being on site, or I'd be appointing a project manager to make it happen from a distance. That's for the renovation. Subdivision, piece of cake. Do it anywhere around Australia.
So the important part of the subdivision is creating the team and making sure the team's good for you. Now, generally, the surveyor and town planners, you should get the local people to do it, because otherwise you're going to be paying those ones, if they're not from that council area, you're going to be paying them to learn the rules and regulations of the planning scheme. So they're important to you. The surveyor and town planner can be in one; they can be the same person. You're going to need an architect possibly to be able to draw up. If you're you could do a subdivision and also include the building that you want to construct on the new piece of land. You can sometimes, depending on what council you're in, put them in together. You obviously need a building team, and you'll need engineers attached to your team, which will be for structural, civil, geotech, hydraulic, and electrical. And really, the best engineers to go for are those companies that can deal with all of those. It makes it a lot easier for you to be able to go to one engineer and say, can you just do all the engineering for the whole project? It's probably a little bit more efficient, because that way they're going to have the same drawings and the same team looking over it from the start. Some of the fees that you may look at when you're talking about a subdivision are your material change of use fees, and they can be anywhere from I've had them as low as $1,300 and as high as $13,000 as far as an application fee is concerned. Then you've got your in some states they're called headworks charges or infrastructure charges, or Section 73 is another charge in some states. You've got council security deposits, which is one that you sometimes don't realise there. Now, that's a refundable deposit. That's where they're concerning themselves about whether you're going to damage the road or the footpath out the front of the project. So they make you put down a deposit so that if you do damage it, that will either cover the costs or they can hold it until you repair it. You've got council contributions, which I mentioned, which are similar to headworks. You've got the building costs of the actual driveways and the infrastructure you need to put in. You've got fees that have to go to the Lands Titles Office. You've got bank fees and mortgages that are going to be on there, and I'll explain that a little bit more in a second. And you've got insurances that you need to put in place in case anything happens. The question is, how do I know if I've got a good town planner? It's going to come down to an experience question, but generally you wouldn't be asking the first guy along, or first guy or girl along, and saying, well, I'm going to use you. I would suggest the same as renovation, that you get minimum 3 and 5 quotes or more, and speak to each one of them.
Yeah, not just the quotes, but their opinion on it. How easy it's going to be, what the likelihood is it'll just go straight through, how long it's going to take, what their fees and charges are, and all that kind of stuff. So it's not just what their quote is for how much they're going to charge you, but everything about the project and how they feel about it and their time frames, and whether you get the idea that they're going to be difficult to deal with, or slow, or they don't get back to you, or you get a feel for that kind of stuff, because it's much about personalities as anything else.
Yeah, we've recently put some plans in and a material change of usage in an area in Queensland, and I found that the planners, that there was a new planning scheme brought in, so that meant that the local planners had to research the new planning scheme, and they were all jumping up and down about it. I actually went to an out of town planner, knowing that he had to research it as well, and I spoke to him about it, and he was of the opinion as I was that it's not that such a bigger worry, the new planning scheme, and that we can tackle it without any issues, where the local guys were going up in arms because there was some sort of change and they weren't used to that change. um, Dave says that a good builder would do it all, and that's true, but again, you need to get a lot of quotes and speak to them all and be comfortable with not the cheapest price but the best person for your job.